there has got to be a better way to birth a baby. And I said, if I don't find it, I'm not doing it again.
You were actually at the very first water birth in the US.
The jaw is the most powerful joint in the body.
We need to filter an entire, swimming pool worth of water to keep the baby safe.
If those things are true, there's something dreadfully wrong.
We know that this is actually an eating disorder when someone is so obsessed of eating healthy.
When you meet your child, thank them for loving you so much.
It's going to be a crying podcast.
I said, okay, I'm going to find out about this now.
Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Homesome podcast. And we have a very special episode prepared for you. We are not going to be talking about environment as we usually do, or, cleaning your house or mold issues and things like that. But as we are about holistic homes, part of a holistic home is a happy and a healthy family. So we're going to be talking today about you, about people. And for that, we have a very, very special guest today with us, all the way from England, originally from the US, Binnie Dansby. Binnie's journey has been extraordinary. She transitioned from being a successful New York fashion designer to an inspirational teacher of human transformation. Binnie's life work delves deep into understanding of how our experiences at birth shape our consciousness and culture, a pioneering perspective that has influenced countless lives. In the late 70s, Binnie made a pivotal decision to dedicate her life to therapeutic breathwork practice. Her groundbreaking work in the field, particularly with water birth and conscious birthing practices, has made her a sought-after figure in the media and among professionals worldwide. She's the creator of the Source process and breathwork, a powerful healing system that aids individuals in overcoming their deepest fears and limitations. Binnie's influence extends to a diverse range of professionals, from engineers to artists to expectant parents, helping them experience profound personal transformations. So Binnie, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Wow.
And we actually met only about a week ago, right? We were put in touch by a mutual friend of ours whom we deeply love. We actually have another podcast episode with him.
Oh, good.
So people can listen to that as well. And I was telling him that I need to start doing some breath work. And he was just like, I know just the person. And he connected us, and you told me that you're going to be in Estonia next week, which is it's just kind of a little bit bizarre because it's like, who comes to Estonia? Timing. Just like, exactly. The timing was just perfect.
Perfect.
And then, just so you all know, I thought going for lunch with Binnie, I know that she was busy because she had a training sessions here whole of last week. So I thought that maybe she'll have like an hour for me or something like that. So I was going for a quick lunch with her last Friday. I think we met up at 1. I got home at 6, if I'm not mistaken. So somewhere in the middle of that conversation, we were like, okay, we need to do a podcast together. And I'm very fascinated by your work. I've already experienced some of it. I've listened to the audios that you have on your website, and then you also shared with me, which was unbelievably beautiful. And I wanted for you to share with our listeners and our audience on YouTube what actually sparked your interest in breathwork in the first place.
In the first place, as a child, I was very interested in music, and I had a talent for singing. So I started taking professional voice lessons when I was 12 and a half, 13. I thought I was going to learn some songs and learn how to present. And the first thing the teacher said to me is, we have to learn to breathe. And I was shocked. Oh, dear. And so I started learning about the fact that the breath supports sound, and the appreciation for the breath and how that works for a singer and in the body So that sparked a very deep interest. Then I got pregnant, had a baby with a very normal birth, which was pretty much like my own, except it didn't include forceps. And it was exceedingly painful and very upsetting. And I said to my baby's father on the way home from the hospital, there has got to be a better way to birth a baby. And I said, if I don't find it, I'm not doing it again. And this was in the car on the way home. He very gently said, that's okay, darling. Baby sleeping, mother ranting. Well, very shortly after that, I went to a La Leche League meeting, which is for breastfeeding mothers, to learn about that because I hadn't paid any attention to birthing. I was 27. I had been a singer and then formally educated in design. And so I was interested in many other things besides giving birth. But that birth experience really did it for me. So at the La Leche League meeting, I met 3 women who declared that they had had painless births. So I said, okay, I'm going to find out about this now. And I did. I read a book called Thank You, Dr. Lamaze, and started exploring. And then I trained for my second birth like I was going to the Olympics, actually. I drove 100 miles back and forth to work with a Lamaze coach because this is 50 years ago. There wasn't a whole lot of interest. Erwin Shaban's book that I just mentioned was the first book about conscious birthing, or the idea that you could do it another way. And when I gave birth to my second son, I did not experience any pain. My husband was right there. My boy's father was right there coaching me. And we went through the labor. And then, to my utmost surprise, I had a full-on, non-ordinary experience that I call an orgasm when my baby presented.
So you shared something with me. You shared that you were actually at the very first water birth in the U.S. Is that correct?
Well, that was much later on.
That was not the second, that was not your second son's birth?
No.
Okay.
No, this was in a hospital with the same doctor that had been with me for the first one. That water birth happened, my goodness, let's see. Rob was born in 1968, that orgasmic birth, and the first water birth in the United States was in 1980. So do the math.
That's a long time.
That's
a long time for sure. A lot of babies born.
A lot of water under the bridge.
How did that idea even come about?
Well, I was in a supermarket in Pacific Beach, California, and I saw that one of the, tabloid newspapers, the National Enquirer, and it was sitting there as one of the, you don't let people know you buy one. Anyway, there was a picture of a woman in a tub of water and a baby coming out. And I got closer and I picked it up, and it was about Igor Tcharkovsky in Russia, supporting women to give birth into water. He was a physiotherapist. He had a premature baby at one point, his wife did, and he put them both in water so that the baby, he thought, since it was in water before, which makes total sense to me, that it would thrive in water with the mother. And it did. It was a little girl. And then he thought that one of his thoughts was that you could produce super athletes if they came from water into water. I think that being born from a known environment to the unknown, which is outside mother's body, but still in a known environment, is actually, according to Joseph Chilton Pearce and many psychologists, is the best matrix for learning, to move from the known to the unknown and be able to refer back to the known. Mm-hmm. So if you come from water into water, still receiving oxygen and nutrients through the umbilical cord, it gives mother a chance to, because those final rushes are enormous amount of energy. And then mother can take her baby, or father can receive the baby, and then put the baby into mother's arms, which is what happened in the very first water birth. Mm-hmm. And that baby was underwater for 20 minutes, and he was totally blissful.
So this is interesting because Andri's one concern about our baby being born into water is that the baby would actually breathe in or swallow chlorine, all the chemicals that are in the water. So we're like, we need to filter an entire, swimming pool worth of water to keep the baby safe. But you were telling me that that's actually not the case, that the babies don't breathe and they don't swallow anything when they're under the water. It's like, how can a newborn baby survive for 20 minutes? Andres, it's like, that was completely new information for me as well.
Air on the skin is what triggers a mammal to take a breath. Mm-hmm. So if you're still in the water, there's no impulse to breathe. The impulse is, and you don't have to shake a baby. You don't have to rub it. You don't have to turn it up and hold it upside down and slap it in order to get it to breathe. Yeah. They breathe. They start playing with the breath. I call it murfling sometimes, The thing is that it might swallow, but because they do swallow amniotic fluid. Mm-hmm. And for that first birth, we actually we filled an entire hot tub with bottled water. Mm. But you can filter the water that comes into the tub. Mm-hmm. If you're concerned about the chemicals that people use to purify water in a city environment, not a problem.
Hot water heated up on the stove like old times.
Well, there's a heating system with the warm water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to what you mentioned about not having to shake the baby or turn it upside down, slap it, because that's what, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure I was born that way. Mm-hmm. Our generation, anyone who was born in a hospital in those days, they were taken from the mother. They were shaken. They were, basically handled quite roughly, right? Yeah. And your entire work, your life's work,
yes,
is basically all about figuring out not figuring out, because I think you have figured it out, but teaching people how breath can change their mind. So I want to go back into how this idea started, or like where it originates from.
The first breath. Mm-hmm. That first breath, if we're startled into it, causes the lungs to open very quickly. And they're right here in the heart space, in the heart chakra. And they almost explode. And then valves open, other ones close in the heart. And the blood flow in the body completely changes to set up all the major organs coming online. We only in the womb, the nervous system, the brain, and the heart. Heart first, then the brain, then the nervous system develops. Those are the active major systems. All the other organs are not operational. They're not needed. Mother is breathing for the baby. The little lungs are like, little balloons, just flaccid, not working. So if you blast them open, it's shocking. And that's what happens for most babies. And in those few moments, they're also cutting the cord. Now, there are certain practices, one called TikTok, that this doctor's name I can't remember right this minute, but he's advocates waiting for some minutes. But I've seen babies born with not cutting the cord until well after the placenta has been delivered, because it's not necessary. But as long as the placenta is attached in any way, baby is receiving an oxygen and nutrients. Nothing's changed, except they get to unfold in the water and they get to be met with loving hands.
So how do you think that this experience, this first breath experience, shapes us as human beings?
Well, what I have heard over the years, and I've been working with people remembering and healing that first breath experience or the birth experience, I began to hear, I don't feel safe. I'm not safe. I have them on a couch in a warm room with lovely plants. I'm a safe environment, and they are breathing, and that deep cellular experience of not safe, of total fear, can come to the surface. I'm not safe, and there's no one here for me. When you cut the cord immediately, that, you go, and then they cut off your supply. Oh my God, I don't want to do that ever again. It's like babies just pull up. And part of that shock and tension is part of daily life. Just notice how your shoulders feel. It's like, relax your shoulders. So I'm not safe, and they've cut me away from the only body and mind I've ever known. I became inside the body of another. Newborn infants can smell their mother's colostrum, the first thing that comes from the breast. They've done experiments. I heard the guy who did all the research speak at a conference. They had mother's colostrum on cotton pads, and they put them next to babies. Baby turns to its mother's. We know her. And for many, many, the majority of babies, she's not there. They're maybe next to her on a, in a little box or something, or they're over on a cold table being checked by the pediatrician, when all they want is to be with her, with the one. Or father, because they recognize father's voice as well. So the voice and skin to skin is what then supports the hormonal changes that are taking place. I personally think that we are dehumanizing people. Birth is a very deeply human, sensual experience. And we assault the senses in the way we birth babies in high-tech situations.
How do you think that it manifests in the world or in people?
Violence, for one thing. Greed, not enough for me. See, we are set up physiologically and I mean, you can see films of babies being put on mother's belly and moving
Crawling
up to the breast, because we are wholly set up to attach to the second umbilicus. That's the breast.
They also say that the pregnancy line that women get sometimes, like the dark line,
Yes.
because the babies can, when they're born, when they're very small, they can see only contrast colors, right? So that's why they say that the line actually helps the baby to, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I read.
Yeah, I've heard that also.
Yeah.
But, and if the last birth I attended, I don't attend many births anymore. I did for almost 10 years, was working regularly with birth. Birth is my greatest teacher. I definitely had no idea about it, about birth really, when it's natural. The mother was on her hands and knees, or a supported squat is a perfect, the pelvis is open. The baby came out, and the midwife and I were on the other side of the tub and just watching, and the baby came out and she just floated. She was just there in the water, and mother turned, and her mother scooped her up and brought her right to her high chest, skin to skin. And no one at that birth was worried about whether she was going to breathe or not. And she did. She never cried. There was no reason to cry.
Oh yeah, they do that as well. They want the babies to cry. It's like, let me hear that first cry.
Oh yeah, they want, it's got healthy lungs. No, it's
There's
not
no need for
necessary.
that.
No.
Okay, so let's go from babies to, I asked you how does it manifest in today's society, in the world. So how can the rebirthing breath work help with this? Because it's a form of therapy, right? And we have a lot of different therapies. We have psychology, we have, I don't like, the list would, we could be sitting here until tomorrow to list all the therapies. So how does the rebirthing breath work actually help with changing the mind of people?
I don't do rebirthing breath work. That's where I started. That is my lineage. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful to Leonard Orr for bringing that forth onto the planet. My work is called Source Process and Breath Work, because I'm really focused on that first breath and the decisions that a person makes. Not safe. James Prescott at the National Institute of Health in the United States in the late 1960s did a whole study and came up with the bottom line: violence is right there in the delivery room. He believed it totally. If you assault a human being, you terrify. The sensory overload, literally. Who am I? Where am I? It's all very, very tense. One of the things that I've just been doing this week is what I call the source warm water process, where people can heal that cellular level of tension that we're all walking around with. And we watch that just release and relax and let go, because a person is being held by the water, but also by 4 people.
Okay, so they don't just float.
They're not just floating, they're supported and given with the breath, breathing through the mouth, a relaxed jaw, open throat, into the high chest, into the lungs, filling the lungs. It falls down into the belly. But the focus of attention in my work is the way you took your first breath. The nose, the nasal passages are all full of gook, you know. It's like we take the first breath through the mouth. It depends upon how quickly we do it, you know. So most people decide, and I've heard it over and over again, which is why I heard what I call the archetypal negative thoughts, and you can hear them resonant throughout society. It's not safe to have a body. There's no one here for me. I have to do this all by myself. I mean, you can hear that walking down the street, you know. My body hurts. Bodies are painful, and we don't have a choice about it. If those things are true, there's something dreadfully wrong, which is the basis of guilt and blame and shame. And that has to do with the heart chakra, and it's where we shut down. If I was blasted open, I close down. And consequently then, I can't fully express myself. And definitely if I'm not expressing authentically, because I don't know, did I cause you pain or are you going to hurt me? You know, we're kind of checking everything out all the time.
Yeah, we're
so
always
I can't
alert.
connect completely. And I've shut off, in a metaphysical sense, I've shut down the bridge energy system. I've shut down in the heart. So spirit can't get all the way in. And the physical can't gift spirit. So here I am. So I came up with the archetypal affirmations. And that's what we give life to when we're breathing. No one and no body reveals itself totally until it knows that it's safe, even at a cellular level. If we know we're safe and we know that we're supported, then many things that are held at a subconscious level come to the surface to be healed.
How long does it take for a person to go through a process? Or does it depend on like how difficult the birth was?
I think it's a lifestyle.
Okay.
Because all of the work, whether it's rebirthing breath work, source breath work, is based in the truth, what I call, and have written a book called The Creation Code, which hasn't been published yet, but will be. Anyway, the creation code, whether you're cooking dinner, doing a painting, or having a baby, is conception, conceiving a thought, having a thought, giving it energy, gestation, and having a result. Baby, dinner, painting, whatever it is. It's the way human consciousness works. And I think basically one of the reasons I came in this lifetime is to figure that out. It's like, I'm very simple. Anyway, it's, so I said to you earlier, you know, a thought planted in the mind, nourished by the breath, takes root in the heart of every cell. So I use the breath as an integrative tool. And if you're breathing in the way you breathed in the fear in the delivery room, you breathed in, oh my goodness, is it going to live? Is it going to breathe? I mean, all of these thoughts, when we're perfectly designed to breathe at the right time, to suckle at the right time, to relax. But we create these high tense situations. It's dehumanizing.
Yeah, and we do it to ourselves later in life as well. We put ourselves into situations where we don't really want to be in, but we just say, I don't have a choice, I have to do it, right? Where there's always a choice.
Always a choice about what to think. We don't always have a choice about the circumstances. What I believe is that it is the consciousness at a birth that is most important. It's not the circumstances necessarily. The ideal circumstance is what I said before, to come into water through a yes, through a thank you. And even a cesarean section, if it is necessary, can be full and deep in the consciousness of welcome. We're all so glad you're here. Take your time. It's your time.
Do you have advice for expectant mothers who, maybe they're planning a home birth, or they have all the ideal in their, in their mind and in their like vision boards and, dreams. But then something happens and they have to go to the hospital, and the situation, the circumstances are not ideal. They get a doctor who is not so pleasant. I've read Ina May's book, and where she describes situations where a person with like really tensed and like rude energy came in, and the baby literally went back up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How should women deal, and men as well, because the partners are there to support.
Birth is a team sport.
Exactly.
Don't forget.
Yeah. How should they deal with these, or what can they do to make the most out of the situation, or to make it as safe for themselves and for the baby as possible?
One of my favorite affirmations, one of my deepest thoughts is, I now set up my life so that I create the results that I want. And that means have the people with you whom you trust and who know what they're doing. It's so important. The support is, I think, as important as any other thing at a birth, is who is supporting you, who is there for you, who is advocating for you. Because if you have that, some of these emergency situations do not happen and will not happen. It's how secure and safe do you feel within yourself as a mother, as a pregnant woman. So it's also, I very much advocate healing your own birth. I talk about the baby that lives in your heart. If you can say yes to your own birth and set about healing that, set about changing your mind, some of the decisions that you made when you were born, then you will go into birth in a new way. So, if you heal, it's not safe to be here with a body. I think that's probably the best affirmation for a woman in labor. Nobody has felt the intense and enormous energy that comes through when you're in labor. It's so beautiful. And it is so much. There's, oh no, and no causes contraction. Yes creates opening. Move into the energy. Move into it. Say yes to it. And that's when you pop into another state of being. But as long as you're resisting, you're going to cause yourself a lot more pain. Not safe, or my body is safe, no matter how I might be feeling. I'm surrounded by love and support. In fact, everything in physical form is here to support me, and that is the truth. The trees are breathing. They're releasing what I need. When it's like affirmations, I think, are great teachers. They're not just pretty thoughts that you stuff in on top of negative. My archetypal affirmations are literally designed to bring up anything unlike itself so that it can be healed. Not so that I can say, oh, see, I was right. Not safe. It's like, I've had so many people say to me, I've never felt so much fear as I have like in this workshop or in this seminar. Because I and the people who work with me, and I never work by myself, are safe with themselves, and they create safety.
I would love to actually jump on that topic and talk a little bit about the safety of breathwork, right? Any type of breathwork, or in fact, like any type of like therapy session that is done in a larger group. And I know we've talked about this and we discussed this, that, I've seen maybe one too many instances where there was a breathwork facilitator facilitating to a larger group, and people were cracked open, and there was no support to actually help them to go through the process and to guide them basically how to get out of that, because people can get into a dark place.
Very.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they need support.
Yes.
To actually get out of it. But my question is, because there's so many different types of breath works, different types of, and people just come up with their own, like, I've seen them.
Right.
There's, they have a new type of breath work, whatever they come up with. How do people actually know what is legitimate, or like what is like actually really safe? I'm going to use that word. How to find a safe breathwork therapist, because that's what you do also, like you train a lot of people. You've been coming to Estonia for like 20 years.
Yes. To
train people. So how do people navigate through that? Do you have any advice on that?
I'm not certain. I do know that we have, I've been part of a group that's been focused on creating safety within the breathwork field, professionalism within the breathwork field. We have an organization called Global Professional Breathwork. So people, just like going to a legitimate doctor, you can see, are these people associated with the GPBA, for instance? And let yourself feel, it's like so many people are going just like they want a drug trip. They go to breath work to go for the catharsis, for the promise of bliss, but it doesn't. I don't do that.
Is that the wrong intention, you think, from people
No,
in the first place?
I think
or is it just different?
It's not wrong, there's no maybe right or wrong. It's, what are you after? What is your intention? And I also never do anything without support, depending upon, how many people are going to be there, how many people we're working with. Then there's always support, because I just think it's, and I also lead. I have a background in clinical hypnotherapy, and I I also, and especially with a large group, I will lead the breathing. I will lead and do what I call a deepening. I think that the breath is the connected breath, the circular breathing, is the greatest induction of all. I use that and then a guided visualization for people to fundamentally heal those bottom lines. Not safe. Your body's safe no matter how you might be feeling. You're absolutely safe to feel all of your feelings. You're surrounded by love and support, even if it's just the floor you're lying on. Feel that. Feel the earth beneath the floor, So it's things like that, because if there's no one here for me, and I'm set up, and this is an infant, I'm all set up to suckle, and there's no one there. There's not enough. And this thought, there's not enough for me. There's not enough touching, there's not enough nourishment, is the basis for all greed and addiction. Not enough booze, not enough drugs, not enough. Greed and addiction, which is, rampant.
Yeah, the addiction. And, people think that addiction is only to drugs or alcohol, right?
Oh,
but
no.
It could
Work.
be, there you go, work, but it could be also like addiction to healthy lifestyle even, when
Exactly.
people get really obsessed with something. And, I think that I'm also like, I have fallen into that category before where I would just, go all out with something and just be very rigid with stuff and very not bend a little bit, not even a little bit, just follow a very, very strict, let's say, an eating regime or something like that. So, I mean, from psychological perspective, even from in the nutritional field,
right.
We know that this is actually an eating disorder when someone is so obsessed of eating healthy. I think it's called orthorexia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Marion Woodman, who's one of the most profound and maybe well-known too Jungian therapists, wrote a book called Addiction to Perfection. And it's all about bulimia and anorexia. So there are many addictions.
Yeah. It's
and I think they come literally from that not enough, not enough mother, not enough nourishment, not enough love. Bottom line, I think we come to love. We come to love and to serve. Well, I advise parents, if nothing else, when you meet your child, thank them for loving you so much. Your baby in your belly right this minute loves you beyond anything you can imagine. And that's the truth. I said this to you the other day and made you cry. I remember.
People were looking at a table. I'm like, I'm okay.
It's absolutely true. Look into the eyes of your partner and say, thank you for loving me. To have our love received is just that thing that we want the most. And we just become so civilized, and it's like, I love you. But thank you for loving me. Thank you for being here with me.
Yeah. It's going to be a crying podcast. Yeah, that's beautiful. It's really, really wonderful. And I think we need to say that more in the world, because
absolutely.
I think one of the first things I told Andri, that was like the first time after I told him that I loved him, was that people use the love you, love you here, love you there.
Yeah.
And they don't really feel it, they don't mean it. And I told him that I want to become one of those couples who are just like throwing it out there, like, and not actually feeling it or thinking, it's just like, for some people, it just becomes like, bye, or like just something.
Well, so many people aren't even listening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They don't even hear themselves throw it away.
Amazing. I would also love for you to share some easy tips, or maybe something that, because you told me something really good. You asked me every time I stop at a stop sign to relax my jaw,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Relax my shoulders and take a deep breath. You also taught me about yawning and what that can do for you. Can you give us some easy,
That's wonderful.
things that people could take with them and start implementing it today, so that, they don't have to wait until they find the therapist and go, but they can actually start doing these things today?
Well, yawning, relaxing. The jaw is the most powerful
When they yawn.
joint in the body. Good. Thank you.
It's a domino effect.
Don't miss an opportunity to yawn or to cry.
Yeah.
When we yawn, we release serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone, and also digestive juices. And as above, so below, for a pregnant woman to begin to relax her jaw is helping to loosen the pelvis. And that's why I have women in labor breathe through the mouth into the high chest, paying attention to that like during a contraction and thinking or saying yes, so that the body can get on with it. Literally, the muscles of the uterus and the whole hormonal system works brilliantly if you give it the space to do that. But if you throw other drugs in, it doesn't work. It stops, literally, it just messes up the whole design, quite literally. So, yeah, I told you about because it's a device I use. I learned from a beautiful acting teacher in New York called David LeGrand. And that was, he told us in New York City, of course, you get to a stop sign very often.
Yeah,
Right?
here not so much, but the dog stops all the time when we walk. So
Thank
I
you.
actually use that as
Exactly.
It's like, okay, we don't have that many stop signs on our walk because it's Tallinn, it's Estonia. But every time, and he stops and sniffs like every 30 seconds.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
there's a hack.
Driving. In fact, I relaxed my jaw. I really worked on that driving around, because come to a stoplight, yawn. I mean, nobody's, watching, but you can also relax your jaw with your mouth closed.
Yeah.
I found out. But it's like David told us to, every time we came to a stop sign, to relax our shoulders. So we would learn how tension builds up. And it's astonishing.
It's incredible. Sometimes
It's just anybody who's listening right now, do that. Relax your shoulders.
Yeah. I catch myself in the middle of a day so many times. I'm like tensed up. I'm like, why am I tensed up?
Exactly. And take a deep breath. Through your mouth, expand your heart space. Wow. It's wonderful.
It sure is. I can attest to that.
So if you just invite people to close their eyes for a moment and take a long, deep breath into the high chest, feel it fall down into your belly. Relax your shoulders and begin to connect the inhale with the exhale. Make a circle with your breath. Now let yourself feel how your body's feeling. The sensations in your physical body. Feel the support of the chair or the sofa or wherever you are, standing, sitting. Just taking a moment to check in to your precious physical body. And listen in. The truth is you're absolutely safe right here, right now. It's safe to receive the support that's here for you right now. No matter how your body is feeling, you're safe with it. And it is safe with you. You may not have a choice about your circumstances right now, but you have a choice about what to think about them. And I invite you to imagine, to bring to conscious awareness the fact that you are, at the core of being, truly innocent, pure light. Yes, purity and light. You came forth to serve and to love. And your greatest service is to be able to be wholly present where you are in every moment. The breath gives you direct access to how you're feeling and gives you direct access to the ability to let go, to listen, to be present. To receive spirit in form, the breath. Then we can connect. And that's what is absolutely the truth about all creation, is deep, deep connection. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful.
It's such a pleasure to be with you, Miriam.
Same here. Yeah,
wow.
I think it was universe cooking something up.
Oh, yes.
Justin was here from South Africa, and then you're from England. It's incredible. Yeah.
Justin and I have flown in.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You have a very clever, very powerful baby.
It's the baby who's attracting.
Called us in.
Exactly. Thank you. If the listeners or whoever is watching on YouTube want to connect with you, how would they? What's the best way? And we'll put everything in the show notes so that people have information.
I respond to info@BinnieDansby.com, and that seems the easiest. My website,
Mm-hmm.
just info. And I do respond. Actually, I love to respond.
And you actually have wonderful resources on your website as well. There is a number of really great audio recordings
Yes.
that people can download.
Well, and video recordings as well.
And videos as well.
Yeah. I'm very open source.
Yes, even your birthday is on your website.
Yes.
Yeah. And I encourage everybody to go and check out Binnie's birthday, because you will not believe it. I can tell you that much.
That's the breath and healthy living.
And the mindset, I believe.
Yeah, it's definitely the mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. It was really, really a pleasure to having you on our podcast.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.